On Friday, October 13, 1307, royal officers across France executed a highly coordinated strike. At dawn, they opened sealed orders that had been distributed weeks earlier and simultaneously arrested every Knight Templar in the country. The public was fed sensational accusations. The crown charged the knights with devil worship, spitting on the cross, and bowing to a mysterious idol called Baphomet. Under severe torture, dozens of Templars rapidly confessed to the fabricated crimes. But the heresy charges were a smokescreen. King Philip IV of France owed the Templars an enormous amount of money. He couldn't pay it back, so he used the Inquisition to erase his debt. The destruction of this powerful order was a state-sponsored financial heist, executed by a bankrupt king with a pope securely in his pocket. To understand how the Templars acquired that wealth, we have to rewind to the aftermath of the First Crusade in 1099. European forces had captured Jerusalem, but the surrounding territories in the Middle East remained intensely hostile. This created a logistical nightmare. European pilgrims landing on the coast faced a dangerous 75-mile overland journey to the Holy City. The roads were overrun with bandits, and the new Christian kingdoms lacked the manpower to patrol them. Pilgrims were murdered by the hundreds. In 1119, a French knight named Hugues de Payens approached the king with a novel proposal. He and 8 other knights would form a new kind of order. They would take monastic vows of poverty and chastity while remaining fully armed for combat to protect the pilgrimage routes. The king gave them an operating base in a wing of the royal palace, on the Temple Mount, believed to rest over the ruins of the Temple of Solomon. That location gave them their name, the Knights Templar. For 9 years, these 9 men lived in absolute poverty. They shared horses, patrolled dangerous roads, and secured the pilgrim routes. Their genuine devotion earned them the reputation they needed to expand. In 1129, the Catholic Church officially recognized the organization. Donations immediately poured in. Kings and nobles gave land, castles, and entire villages to support the cause, rapidly transforming the Templars into one of Europe's wealthiest institutions. They also possessed unmatched military strength. Their core fighting force was made up of roughly 1,500 heavily armored elite knights. Crucially, they answered directly to the Pope. No local king could tax or arrest them. They operated as a completely sovereign entity. But their greatest innovation happened off the battlefield. A pilgrim traveling from Paris to Jerusalem needed money for the months-long journey, but carrying a chest of physical gold meant almost certain robbery. The Templars solved this by creating a paper banking system. A traveler would deposit their valuables at a local Templar branch in France. In return, they received a letter of credit, a document detailing the value of their deposit in code. The pilgrim then crossed the Mediterranean carrying only that piece of paper. Since the physical gold stayed secured in Europe, there was nothing of value for bandits to steal. Upon arriving in Jerusalem, they presented the document at the local Templar commandery and withdrew the equivalent value in local currency. By separating the concept of value from heavy metal, the Templars effectively invented the bank check. They became the first multinational financial corporation, managing royal treasuries and transferring funds across borders. Over the next century, the Christian presence in the Middle East eroded. The Crusader states fell one by one, culminating in the loss of their final stronghold at Acre in 1291. The Templars retreated to Europe. They were now an immensely wealthy, heavily armed, private military network with no Holy Land to defend, and they were entirely outside the jurisdiction of local monarchs. King Philip IV of France saw an opportunity. Philip was deeply in debt from his own wars. He had a track record of solving his cash flow problems by expelling Jewish citizens and Italian bankers to seize their assets. To get to the Templars' money, Philip needed to strip away their papal protection. He engineered the election of a French pope, Clement V, and successfully moved the papacy from Rome to southern France, bringing the church under his direct influence. The Templars held limitless wealth, but lacked a clear purpose to justify their autonomy. Paired with a desperate monarch, the trap was set. In the fall of 1307, Philip's agents finalized the false charges, supplied by an expelled former Templar. The sealed orders were dispatched. Following the October raids, the French crown initiated a ruthless torture campaign. Men's feet were held to flames until they confessed. Under pressure from Philip, Pope Clement issued a decree ordering Christian monarchs everywhere to arrest the Templars in their own territories. By 1310, dozens of Templars tried to mount a legal defense by retracting their forced confessions. Philip responded by burning 54 of them at the stake in a single day, effectively ending any organized legal resistance. The final act came in 1314. The 70-year-old Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was brought before a public tribunal in Paris. Instead of repeating his confession as expected, he stood before the crowd and completely retracted it, declaring the order innocent. De Molay was burned at the stake that same evening. According to a legend that spread immediately afterward, as the flames rose, he called out a curse, predicting that both King Philip and Pope Clement would answer before God within the year. Both men died shortly after. The enduring legend of the curse distracts from the historical reality. The Knights Templar were dismantled through a cold, calculated, and perfectly executed legal assassination. The full Templar treasury was never accounted for. Unproven theories persist that the Templar fleet, anchored at the port of La Rochelle, slipped away before the arrests and sailed to Scotland with the missing gold. Similarly, the modern pop culture connections between the Templars and the Freemasons are essentially romantic myth. Those stories were fabricated by 18th-century organizations looking to invent an impressive lineage. The actual legacy of the Templars requires no embellishment. They pioneered the letter of credit and built the framework for international funds transfer. Their infrastructure laid the groundwork for modern institutional banking. In a single morning, a 2-century-old global banking network and a formidable private army were completely eradicated. Next episode, the Roman Empire. We look at how a single city on the banks of the Tiber River expanded into an empire that stretched from Scotland to Iraq, lasting in some form for nearly 1,500 years. We will examine how they built their infrastructure, how they held on to power, and why they ultimately fell. See you there.